Hi there, my name is Melissa. I am in my studio where I teach private piano lessons and been doing this for quite a few years. And this video is for my students and anyone else that is looking for a quick review or to learn about scale degrees and Roman numerals in scales, along with a few other little tidbits that we're going to learn today. So that we'll try to keep this short. And again, if you need to know about scale degrees in music theory or Roman numerals, this video should help you out. If you have access to a workbook that has more music theory, this will give you practice. Or if you already have a teacher that you're working with or someone else that is giving you lessons or that you're working with, they can also help explain this more and give you more application to this. So this is just going to be the explanation, and then I'll set you free to do your own thing. So scales, if you've already done a little bit of music theory, you know that a scale is a series of tones that are organized in a particular way. And we're only talking today in this video about a major scale. So we're only talking about 8 tones in a major scale. We're going to use as an example today the C major scale, usually the first scale that you learn. So we have 8 tones, like I said. And the way that we think about the tones in that scale has to do with scale degrees. There's a language to music just like anything else. And when we want to refer to certain notes of the scale, we can do that in a variety of ways, but then we also have to be able to refer to the chords in a scale, as well as the individual notes. So I'm going to give you a really quick rundown of how we do this, and I'm just going to do it here on a whiteboard here in my studio, and I'll show you on the keyboard as well. So we're going to use a very simple scale. So I'm going to notate in the treble clef, and I'll bring this closer so you can see it in just a minute. But first of all, I'm going to draw on the staff the notes of the C scale. And I'm also going to write the notes here on the keyboard. Okay? So there you can see I have my C scale drawn. Hopefully you can, I'll get the light out of the way there. Ah! Okay. I'll figure it out, I promise. So you can see that I have a C scale. I'm starting here with my middle C, and I'm going up in the treble clef to the high C above middle C. And I have the notes written there. So starting with middle C all the way up to the higher C. Sorry about the light reflection there. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do is realize that there are different ways that we can refer to these notes on the staff. Certainly we can refer to them using their letter name, and we can just write C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And we want all of our students to be able to read music and to be able to do just that and identify the notes exactly that way. And you hopefully already know that. So this should not, I'm going to erase this for now, but knowing the notes on the staff is something you should already know before you get to this point. So now we have to talk about scale degrees. We can also use a number to refer to each note of the scale, and we do that by using what we call scale degrees, and we write them this way. Over middle C, I am writing the number 1, and I'm putting almost like a vertical accent mark. Okay? So that's the notation for degree of the scale, or scale degree. That's what we're talking about. If I follow the pattern, D is scale degree 2, E is scale degree 3, F is scale degree 4, G is scale degree 5, C is scale degree 6, 7 is scale degree 7, or the B, sorry, is scale degree 7, and back to the C is scale degree 8. So there are your scale degrees, C to C. 1 through 8. All right. Normally when we refer in music, at least in piano music, to scale degree numbers, we're talking about an individual note, okay? So if I said, I want you to play the 5th scale degree in the key of C, I'm going to play a G. Or if I said, I want to hear the tonic note or the 1st scale degree in the key of G, I would play a G because it's the 1st degree of the G major scale. If I wanted to say, play me the 3rd degree in a C scale, I would play the E. So knowing the degree names is important. We also can have names for the notes. I'm not going to do all of these. I'm going to do the primary ones. And I'll show this to you in a minute. So the 1st scale degree of any scale is always called the tonic of the scale. And the tonic is usually the most important. So most of the music that we play starts on the tonic of the scale and ends on the tonic of the scale. So over here under C, the 1st degree of the scale is also known as the tonic note. So if someone said to you, play the tonic note in the C scale, they're asking you to play C. The next most important scale degree or note is called the subdominant, and that is the 4th scale degree. So the 4th scale degree note is the subdominant note. The 5th scale degree, so 5, is the dominant note. So if someone said play the dominant tone in a C scale, they will always be referring to the 5th scale degree in a C scale. I'll say that again. If someone wants you to play the dominant note of the C scale, they're referring to the 5th scale degree or the G. So if you're asked to play the tonic in a scale, any scale, you're always playing the 1st scale degree. If you're asked to play the dominant in a scale, any scale, you're always playing the 5th scale degree note. If you're asked to play the subdominant note, you're always playing the 4th scale degree note of that scale. So for piano music and most music theory, most instruments, when we're talking about scale degree numbers, we really are referring to the note. Now we're going to move on to Roman numerals. Now we're going to refer to something else other than just the note. We're going to talk about chords. I'm going to use a different color to show you. So I can build a chord on every single tone of the scale. So I'm going to do that and then I'll show you. On the C, I'm going to build a triad. Now a triad is a certain type of chord. A triad has to meet 2 conditions. The distance between the root note or the bottom note and the middle note has to be a third. And the distance between the root note and the top note has to be the interval of a perfect fifth. I'm going to change colors because I can tell already that's not showing up very well. So a triad is a special type of chord. We'll talk about inversions of chords in another video, but for now we only want to talk about triads. So I'll draw this again. I have my triad. That's easier to see. Okay? So I've just placed 2 notes, the E and the G, above the C. It is a triad because I have my root note, my bottom note. I have the interval of a third from my bottom note to my middle note, and I have the interval of a perfect fifth between my bottom note and the top note. So that is my triad. And I'm just going to continue to build a triad on every single note of the scale. Now, if you had a scale like G major that has an F sharp in it, you would want to notate the sharps. I'm going to stop there because I'm running out of room and I don't want to mess this up. But you could see that if I wanted to, I could continue over here with the triads. I would just keep going up and adding more notes, but I don't want to mess up the numbers for you. Okay? So I have, there we go. I have a triad built on every tone of the scale. Here's where we talk about Roman numerals. If I am referring to a chord, I can call that first chord the tonic chord, and that would be okay. But especially in pop music or jazz or blues, we don't really use the word tonic as often. Instead, what we do is we try to refer to those notes, or not notes, we refer to those chords with Roman numerals. So I am writing in the Roman numeral 1 to indicate that the C chord is the 1 chord, and it's a Roman numeral 1. Okay? And I'm going to continue up the scale, and I'm going to number these first, and then I'll explain what they are and why they are written the way they are. Okay, so now I have all of my Roman numerals placed underneath the chords. I started with the first chord, the tonic chord is C, it's a 1 chord. My second chord, the D chord, is a Roman numeral 2. But you can see that I've done a small Roman numeral 2, not a capital like I did for the tonic chord. The reason for the small Roman numerals, those are minor chords. So, for example, if I play a C chord, it's C major. The 2 chord in C major is actually D minor. Why? Because there are no sharps or flats indicated in the C major scale. So D has to be a minor chord in the C major scale. If I wanted to make it major, I would have to have an F sharp in the middle. But D major naturally occurs in the triad structure of a C major scale as a D minor chord. So if you're doing this exercise and drawing out a scale, we're using the accidentals or the key signature of the scale as we build the chords. So in this instance, in C major, my 2 chord is a minor chord. My 3 chord is also a minor chord, it's E minor. My 4 chord, built on the subdominant tone, is an F major chord, so it gets a capital Roman numeral. Likewise, my 5 chord is a G major chord. See if I can draw this correctly. And it relates to the dominant. I feel like I'm drawing backward and upside down, but you get the idea. All right, so the 5 chord is G major. It's a major chord. It gets a capital Roman 5. The 6 chord is A minor. There it is. So it gets a small Roman numeral 6. The 7 chord is actually a B diminished chord. So it's not just minor, it's also diminished. If you don't know what diminished is, we'll talk about that in a different video, or you can ask your teacher. That's what that little degree notation is for, that indicates diminished. And then of course we're back to the 1 chord, the C major chord. So we now have a scale degree for every note of the scale, and we have a Roman numeral for every chord that naturally occurs in the C major scale. Our primary chords in any major scale, including C major, will always be the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. So in most any song that you are going to play in C major, you will find most often the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord all throughout the piece. You will find other chords. You will find 6 chords. You'll find A minor. That's very popular in pop music. You'll find 2 chords and 3 chords as well in pop and jazz, but your primary chords are always going to be the 1, the 4, and the 5 because they work together very, very nicely in any piece that is in C major. It can change keys, of course, and you might have an introduction of other chords and notes, but that's the basics, or that's the foundation of scale degrees and Roman numerals. Thanks for watching. If you have questions, let me know in the comments below, or if you're a student of mine, you know where to find me.